For nearly 50 years, Warren Forrest has lived behind bars. In 1979, the Clark County native was convicted of killing 20-year-old Krista Blake. Decades later, he was convicted of killing Martha Morrison after DNA evidence linked him to the 1974 murder. And detectives believe he's tied to the deaths of at least 5 other women.
Over a number of years, the bodies started showing up around Clark County.
Though the actual number could be far higher.
I guess there's no delicate way to put it. He's just one of the most stone-cold sociopathic personalities.
Detective Doug Mass has investigated these disappearances for decades.
He took advantage of thinking that he was disposing of these bodies in places that they would never be found.
Detectives say a couple women survived the attacks. One was Norma Jean Lewis.
50 years ago, I accepted a ride home from a stranger in a blue van, and it turned into the longest, most horrific night of my life.
It was a typical summer afternoon in 1974. Lewis says she was 15 when Forrest offered her a ride home.
It still agitates me thinking about it.
During the ride, Lewis says Forrest pulled over and grabbed something from the back of the van.
And when he got back into the van, he didn't get in the driver's seat.
Instead, he opened the door to the back seat, got in behind Lewis, and put a knife to her throat.
And he just kind of tugged and said, "Get in the back of the van." And from that point, it was just tears and begging.
Lewis says Forrest gagged and groped her, then dragged her into the woods of Tukes Mountain and tied her up.
And he strung the rope between my knees and the other rope connecting my ankles and my wrists.
Fortunately, Forrest left momentarily. Lewis began chewing through the rope.
The first thought I had was, if he comes back and finds me like this, it really will be bad.
With her ankle still bound, Lewis escaped by crawling through the woods all night.
Always in the back of my mind, I wanted to stop him. Always in the back of my mind, I knew what my fate was that day.
Lewis eventually found help, but detectives didn't believe her story. And what she didn't realize at the time is that she may not have been Forrest's first victim. Detectives now believe he'd been killing young women for years.
And in December of 1971, a young teenager by the name of Jamie Grissom comes up missing.
Decades later, Jamie's sister is still searching for answers.
She made friends easily, and she was funny.
That morning, Star Laura says Jamie went to school and never came home.
I knew something was wrong. I just knew.
The two were closer than most sisters. As 3- and 4-year-olds, they were taken away from their parents and younger siblings and placed in foster care. They agreed they'd never lose each other.
We had a pact that was never going to happen.
But in the more than 50 years since Jamie's disappearance,
we've never found her remains.
That pact still unfulfilled.
It would mean everything if I found her remains.
Jamie's belongings were discovered 5 months after her disappearance near Dole Valley, close to where 2 other women were found. One of them was Martha Morrison.
Her blood, her DNA, was found on the defendant's torture weapon.
The woman Forrest was finally convicted of killing in 2023 after DNA evidence linked him to her death.
Martha got justice, and that's as close as all the rest of us can get.
We reached out to Forrest for an interview. He said no. Though detectives do believe more answers are coming soon, thanks to strands of hair found in Forrest's van from nearly 50 years ago.
We had at least 7 different colors of hair. They classified about a dozen of the hairs as post-mortem, implying that the hairs that we found in the van came off people at the time who were not living.
Mass believes new technology and testing of that evidence could tie Forrest to the woman found next to Morrison in the woods, Carol Valenzuela.
Hopefully this will end soon.
Carol's brother-in-law Larry Hellige has awaited a trial for years, hoping Forrest is found guilty.
I don't even know how to explain that. It means a lot.
While families await answers,
August 2nd, Forrest takes half a day off.
Mass keep searching.
Thomas Schultz joins me now. Thanks, Thomas. There could be even more victims in cases like this. What do we know about that?
Yeah, well, that detective you heard there, Doug Mass, has spoken to Warren Forrest before and says that Forrest has alluded to as many as 17 victims in 4 western states. We also heard from Clackamas County detectives who say they're looking into Forrest for a connection down there, that they've also been investigating a woman named Rita Jolly who disappeared in 1973.
Goodness, it's fascinating. So the DNA evidence here, what do detectives actually have, and what do they think they're going to learn from all of this?
Well, they found dozens of pieces of DNA, a lot of that being strands of hair found in Forrest's van from 50 years ago. So we just learned today they've been in the testing process, and they think they've got a few of those DNA samples that are able to move on to the next stage of testing. So Doug Mass, again, the detective there, has said it's slow progress, but encouraging at the same time.
So ultimately, when might we see additional cases in court if charges come?
It's still hard to tell. He said of that DNA evidence, it's not years, but it's not days either. So that month timeline is when they're really looking to have more of an answer on that. It also really hinges on that DNA evidence. There's a woman that we mentioned in the story, Carol Valenzuela. We spoke to her brother-in-law, and they think that would be the next case that they would test in this DNA evidence. They think that is the most likely to get a verdict here, and they think they could charge Forrest on that. And the time frame and what they're planning for next is interesting, because they say if they're able to charge him and convict him on Carol Valenzuela, maybe Forrest will be a little bit more forthcoming on some of those other potential victims.
Very interesting. Great to hear from those family members in your story as well. Thanks. Great job, Thomas. If there's a cold case in your community that you'd like Thomas and the team to look into, send us an email. The address is there on your screen and easy to remember, stillsearching@kgw.com.